Yes, I hope my viewer, you have been well. The week has treated you well, and I'm also well. So here I am, Dr. Jerry Gashoi, back us to learn more about marriage. We say in marriage discourses, we make sure that we learn how to make our marriages thrive, not just survive. Because when they survive, you realize you barely making it in life, and somehow you may keep regretting why you made that decision, either to get married or to be in that relationship. We can also enjoy our marriages instead of enduring. And that's why we have these discourses, these discussions. So I welcome you. And so in case you've missed other sessions we have had, you can go back and you can learn more, because we started from where we had the origin of marriage, or where it originated, and even the purpose. So this today we are looking at what is ailing marriages today. You know, last time we were looking at sometimes how can you describe your marriage? Somehow you may wonder, did I really get it right? For we said this, when we are young and as we are growing up and as we watch those nice maybe movies or read the Cinderella story, we always have the ideal image of marriage, or happily ever after. And it's good to have an ideal image of what you'd want to have in life, because that's what we talk about, why we say in psychology about the ideal self. But then we come to what happens, the real. And so we got married and we're in this relationship right now. I don't know now what is the real now, how you describe it, because we said you can either describe it as what you hope for or an ordeal. And we said when you were talking about an ordeal, it may be very painful, it may be difficult, it may be tiring, it may be draining. So maybe you are surviving, you are enduring, and maybe that's why an ordeal. But why are we here? And why are we in marriage discourses, and why I would encourage you to keep watching and even encouraging others to come. And if you like it, you share, you subscribe, and do all that you can, so that not only you but others benefit, because we are saying you can have a new deal. Not because we want to lose what you had, but even that which you have right now, we can negotiate for a better arrangement. We can have an agreement so that something is going to be better. Not because or only about us, but we know we also looping God in it. And I believe that you have realized that we are talking about what God designed marriage to be. So in case you have an ordeal and you have not gotten the ideal that you thought, now today I want to tell you this: it is possible to get a new deal. Why? Let every man be a liar, but God be true. The truth is, sometimes we may not get what we expect, but even where we are, He says He can make it better. He makes things different, and there's nothing too hard for Him. So today, welcome as we share concerning the what ails marriages, not because we won't just discuss about the problems. We'll be looking at the issue and maybe how it affects marriage, what are the possible causes. Then we end up on how can we remedy the situation, how can we even make it better where we are. And so even though marriages are struggling under the weight of so many things, unresolved conflicts, emotional pain, external pressures from many other people, whether from within or without, it is possible not just to rush for divorce. Just don't look for the exit door, because that's what mostly young people are doing, or people are doing. Once you have some charges, you just want to go look for a lawyer. Like one lawyer was telling us, now this is more like what we are solving every other day. That should not be so. Before you look for the exit door, are you able to see what really can help support and sustain a healthy relationship? So welcome to today, and I believe we are going to learn more, and there are many problems, and I also want you to help us, because sometimes maybe what we have may not cover all, and sometimes we say, oh, there is this one, can we have a discussion about it? So if you put your comment there, we are going to look at it and we're going to respond, and when we see what you have, then we can have a time where we discuss that issues, because it will not only help you, it will also help others. So there are quite a number of problems that are there, and we may not go to maybe list them, all of them, but you realize if you were to look at them, there are many. But we'll go from one to another and see how we can look at it, or how we can help one another to understand one problem after another. And today, I want us to look at domestic violence and abuse. Now, this is very sad, because when we are talking about domestic violence and abuse, this is where there is, harm to another person. We simply saying it is domestic. That means it is being done at home. It is the physical abuse. It also has the emotional abuse. There is the verbal abuse, psychological, sexual, or financial abuse that is inflicted to one spouse by one spouse upon another. And when we are saying in domestic violence at home or in the family, meaning we have these people who once loved one another. We have these people who told one another the sweet nothings. Although maybe some will say niringizwa box, whatever box, whatever you are told, I believe somebody told you something nice. I don't think there was a gun put on your head and you are told you must be my wife or you must become my husband. So somehow there was that what was good at the beginning. So by the time we turn to harm or afflict one another, inflict physical abuse, that means somebody is either hit or slapped, kicked, sometimes even using objects to hit somebody, then you realize you're inflicting physical harm on a person. The emotional means is where we have either use of like neglect. Somebody, you just assume that the people have no feeling. So if they are crying, you just don't want to know why they are crying. If somebody is sad, it's like it's your own problem. And sometimes we just don't want to be there for somebody, or just to know what is going on. Do you remember when we were looking at the origin of marriage and even the purpose of marriage? There is that part of where you get a companion. A companion is somebody you walk with, and not only just on the journey, but I believe in your ideas, in your emotions. When you are feeling low, somebody to lift you up. That's why the Bible would say in Ecclesiastes 4, I think verse 9, 11, it talks about that two are better than one. Why? Because they have a good reward for their labor. There is this one who falls and is lifted up by the other. And if one is cold, the other one makes the other person warm if the other one is warm. What we are saying is this: when we are in this relationship, and we choose to harm one another emotionally, that means you are absent, you are not there when the other person needs you. Now, the others who use verbal abuse, that means using words to hurt. And and words hurt for a long, long time. I don't know, I may have forgotten, or excuse me, I have forgotten maybe the teachers who caned me. Sometimes even I forget what I was caned for. About, unless maybe it was unjust. But somehow I don't know why I keep remembering some of the words. They may not be hurting right now, but I still remember some words that maybe somebody used or a teacher used on me. I still remember one who was a very angry teacher. I don't know why he was always angry. But there's this day we did an exam and we didn't do well. We failed. Although I had passed. And I don't know why he didn't accept those who had passed and not punished together with the rest. So we were all made to kneel down. And then he started abusing us. And I have not forgotten, in his anger, he said, "You are damned and stinking. Only highness missing to eat you up." And now, because he was so angry, and somehow I think when you're angry, your real accent comes up. And somehow I don't have to tell you where he came from, but when he was so angry, he was saying, you undone and stinking, only highness missing to hit you up. And now, the students, now instead of feeling sorry, we laughed. Because now with the accent coming out so strongly, instead of now getting more remorseful, we laughed, and that made him more angry. You know very well, we got it. Somehow I don't even remember how he punished us, but I remember those words. And I don't know. That's what I want to say. Words hurt for a long time. The pain of maybe physical may go and there's the scar, but when it comes to words, they hurt. The Bible talks about that trying to remember the scripture, but I can quote it. It says, life and death is in the power of the tongue, or they are in the power of the tongue. And whoever loves the tongue, or loves, the tongue will eat from it. It will be like it's giving you fruits. But that means if you don't love your tongue, or if you use that tongue to do wrong, then you can harm, or even you can cause death. There are many people who have either killed themselves or even harm themselves because of what they have been told using words. So sometimes it is important that even though we are angry, let's not harm one another, using words. I remember this lady who tells me, or one lady who came to see me feeling so depressed because the partner or the husband used to call us, you look like a scarecrow. Sincerely, by the time we use the word a scarecrow, do you know what a scarecrow looks like? It's not fair. So this is one of the causes of what ails marriages, because sometimes we are not fair when we are doing that to one another. It's not. And you realize if it is done the opposite way, when we are saying if it is the wife or the husband returning those words to the other person, he gets or she gets very angry. But why do you think the other person does not have the feeling? Now, when we are talking about sexual abuse in marriages, it is possible because there are people who think it is their right. And somehow it doesn't matter whether he's sick or not feeling ready, and so it being a right, and like I must have it, then he doesn't care whether the other person is sick or even feeling tired or not in any way ready, and they just do it. And so it's not fair because at the other person feels defrauded or even abused. That is the word. And so let's not use those words or those things to harm one another. I have also said about financial abuse, and somebody may be asking, how do you financially abuse person? Now, this is where one of us, and I believe when the Bible says the two shall become one, if we have become one and another person may not be able so well financially, we support one another. Our finances also should be married. So when one is made to almost beg or live with the basic minimum or the bare minimum because they don't have, it is financial abuse. And unfortunately, we are having people using that as a way of exercising power or authority over the other person. Because you don't have, I can make you do anything I want. And now the opposite's even worse when you find a lady who has money now start abusing the husband, making him almost feel like he's not a man because he has no money. Now, I wish that God may help us to understand that financial abuse is also same as physical abuse or verbal abuse, because you are making the other person feel vulnerable or feel like is useless. Now, there's this case of a lady who was telling me, I am given money, but at what cost? Now, he says, I need some money for this. And the man, because he has the money, spreads them, like, let's say this is 1,000 bomb, and it's like, you can have it. And she's like going for it because now she's happy that the man has responded because I have this need. The man just removes it, withdraws it and puts in the pocket. It's like, wants to see how her face looks like. And so if she just walks away, he says, oh, you don't need it? You don't want, I can keep my money. So that she comes back. I don't know. I know we did that to children sometimes, or we were done that, but I don't think it's fair when we do it to one another. So I know this is part of the domestic violence and abuse that have been going on, and we may not go into all the details, but we should never normalize abuse. It is, you don't also keep it or like hide it to normalize or to make it like you want to preserve marriage. I don't want us to say we will bear everything or we continue persevering all this because in the name of keeping the marriage, because that shows that marriage is not healthy at all. Silence often empowers the abuser and deepens the victim's suffering. So as much as you'd want to say, I don't want my parents to know I'm going through this, I don't want them to know I am suffering this, what you're doing is you are empowering the bully, or you are making the person more bold to do more. And whether it started by that verbal abuse, emotional neglect, now it goes to physical, it will continue graduating as long as the person knows you don't tell anybody and you are scared of losing your marriage or you'll be left. So if you tell anybody, then you know very well it's not going to be the same. So every time the abuser will keep terrorizing you and making you feel like it is your responsibility. Some even make you feel like you're the one who made her or him to hit you, or you are the one who is causing them to do that because there's something wrong with you. So maybe because now you don't have, maybe you feel inferior, you continue being suppressed because you think this is okay. No, it is not okay. You have a right. You have a right even for safety. You have a right even not to be harmed. So don't subject yourself in the name of marriage, my dear brother, my dear sister, thinking it's going to work. Sometimes it doesn't. It doesn't even get better. It gets worse. So you need help. Seek somebody to help you. So, and sometimes when we know the repercussion, because children who are raised in violent homes may grow up very fearful, aggressive, or emotionally unstable. In fact, they become the silent perpetrators. And so, I don't know, and I'm not saying I'm predicting anything, but when we find children living, an abusive or in an abusive family, there is always that fear that it will happen to them. I still remember this case. I was being told, and I had visited school, and I was supposed to speak to the children. And the principal is telling me about a case where a child saw the father come to the school, and the child ran, so terrified, went behind the principal's seat, and as much as the father tried to reach out to the girl to know now your dad has come and you are running away, and he's like, no, dad may kill me, dad may kill, and she's like, why? And he's like, she had overheard the father threatening to kill the mother. So when he came to school, now she knew either he has killed the mother, now he's coming to kill her. And the girl was terrified. The father could not believe. And after that, they had to have a talk, and he had to promise. And before the principal there, that he's not going to harm the mother. Whether it is in jest or the threats, our children take them very seriously. Why? They believe we are adults, and what we say we can do or we can execute. So don't say you're joking that I can kill you or I can slap you and all that. So they get that. So our children are getting harmed because they are these silent abused children. They may not be beaten, but they feel emotionally abused. So they'll be unstable. They either will expect the same aggression to others, and that is very it's not good. And then sometimes they also become very fearful. Anytime they are told they are going to be beaten, they almost faint, or you can see they have anxiety and terror. Maybe somehow they feel like that may be like what they have experienced or they have seen at home. Now, the Bible tells us, and this is very key, in Luke 6 verse that one of the most key verses that I know, if we all can do it, you realize that this is where we can be fair to everyone. It doesn't matter who. Jesus says, Luke 6 verse that do to others as you would have them do to you. That is a cardinal rule. And I wish we would realize that above all, even all, the second commandment, of loving our neighbor. We have the first one, which is, as Jesus would say, or said it, that we love the Lord our God with all our heart, with all our might, with all our soul. But the second one is to love our neighbor as ourselves. And simply it is this: what you do to others, make sure if it is done to you, it is fair. So anytime we are in a relationship, whether it's that marriage relationship, whether it is children, parents, and all that, whether it's teachers, students, and all that, any relationship we are in, would you always say that you would do to the other person what you'd want or you'd have them do to you? So don't defraud them, because if you are defrauded, you feel. But don't abuse if abuse would be, again, not right for you. Maybe we can look at what actually causes the abuse, and we may not have to go into all the details, but it's good that we discuss them. So, causes. What are the main causes? And we are not saying all these are the only causes, but now we have cases of uncontrollable anger. And sure enough, as we have said before, the uncontrollable anger may have some genesis where maybe they saw it. Maybe these children were either neglected, maybe abused also when they were young. So that can help them, can make them foster some anger, so uncontrollable, so that you find it exhibit itself in marriage. And I have realized there are those times we've talked to some couples, and one of them says, I didn't know I had such anger. Now, this is because it is pent up. It's something that had been repressed. Maybe you went through abuse. Like these children who are raised up maybe with a very hostile father or mother, maybe a foster father, a stepfather, and always like picked on. And so they have resentment, they have bitterness they are put. And now when you get into a relationship, you never know, you grow up and like nothing seems to be bad because you continue with college, maybe finish, and now you want to marry. All of a sudden you realize this seething anger comes up, and that's where you ask yourself, why am I so angry? Why do I get so irritated so very easily? And maybe that's where we ask, you can look back and see if you need help, it is possible. We talk about anger management. Don't say this is the way I am, or this is the way I have grown up. I've realized the danger right now we have in marriages where people know they have problems, but they don't know what to change. It's like, take me as I am. But we can't live like we want to, because we are harming the relationship. You don't say, me, I've gotten used to staying alone, yet you got married. You can't go say, I'm used to staying alone, and you got married. So this is not an issue of saying, this is how I've been. My anger has always been uncontrollable. Even when I got angry when I was a kid, everyone has to disappear. Yes, you survived that time. This time, you have to know that there's a better way. That's what we say. Once we learn there is a better way, then we don't have to keep on the wrong way. So the issue of alcohol and substance abuse, sometimes starting off like, social or maybe some rebellions that we have when we are teenagers, that some we experimenting. So maybe get some from a friend, and maybe later going during funkies and all that, until you realize that which started as a small just habit or an experiment now has become a habit. And this habit is not only a habit, but a destructive habit, because you know how much harm it is doing to yourself and to your family, because you realize most of the abuses are being perpetrated by people either who say they are the influence of drugs or influence of alcohol. So whether we are doing it for our own pleasure, you realize you go home, you start over quarrel, and sometimes you're not reasonable to be able to think, so it escalates, and you find before you realize there is harm or there is something that has happened. So this is also an area where if we need help, we can look for help and you can be helped. It doesn't mean that this is the way I am. I am now addicted to alcohol. No, or addicted to anything. There is nothing that cannot be changed. Even in psychology, we say a behavior is learned, can be unlearned, and can be relearned. But also beyond that, when the Bible says, if any man be in Christ is a new creation, there is the old that gets done with and the new comes. So if we are ready for a change, there are so many options. We don't have to keep saying, this is the way I am, because it's not even in the best position. We are not in the best position. There is also the desire to control, because we feel like this is what we are, we are supposed to do. You feel like, I saw my father do it, or, for you to be a man, you must dominate or take control. And that desire to control may also help make you think you need to subdue another person. And the only way to subdue another person is to oppress them or abuse them. And so that can also be the desire. Then I have mentioned this, exposure to violence during childhood, and that has been shown even by studies that children who are exposed to violence feel like that is the way to do, and they do it, or they become victims themselves. Then there is also the issue of the low self-esteem, and the low self-esteem can also be caused from what we said. These children who grow up from and where there is abuse in the family, they feel always like they are, in the worst place possible in their families, and even when they go out there, they think they are regarded as children who come from where their fathers and their mothers fight every other time. So they have low self-esteem. So what happens? In a relationship, they always take the position of the underdog. And so the other person takes the aggressor. So they feel like it's okay because this is what I saw. And so they have low self-esteem. Now we have the issue of the culture, which affects also. Sometimes we want to say, oh, this is the way I saw my father do in our tribe. Men do this or women do this. And so the culture can be used as a way of subjugation or making others feel like, you've heard of people who joke and say that the best way to show a woman that you love her is to beat her. And wengine walikuwa nasema hata, you even incite it. You go and you'd want to see whether he can beat you, and if he beats you, then he loves you. See, and if he doesn't beat you, he doesn't care. Now that is some warped beliefs. I don't think they are right. And so it's not fair when we are thinking that that is the way it should be. And so I want to say that there is always a way out. This could be the causes, they could be the reasons. And I want to say some of them will not be able even to be able to check them, because that's the past. But where we are, remember I've said that we are having a new deal. Let's not live in the ordeal. Let's not think this is the way out, and let's not normalize the ordeal. If it is tiring, if it has made you feel like you are done with marriage, you feel like I got the worst deal ever, this is it. I want to tell you this, that why we are here is because we all believe that there is a way God can help us to make a good deal with Him, even that which is bad. That's why He talks about beauty for ashes, oil of joy for our mourning, and also giving a garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. And I want you to tune in and keep listening so that we may know how we are going to even help ourselves when we have been abused or we have been abusing. And I know that you'd want to know, how can we change this? How can we avoid? If you have been abused, how can you stop the abuser? And how can you help yourself? So tune in for the next one, and I know we are going to learn more. Thank you. God bless.
Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share.